Winning Blueprint presents.
In the Lab Room. In the Lab Room presents
The weekend.
the weekend that was.
We're slate skating. We're slate skating. We're slate skating. We're slate skating.
So the next game up on the slate, as we continue down the list of games, as we continue to go slate skating through Week 16. So the New England Patriots travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. This was my sole survivor pick of the week. Thought this was going to be a blowout. I was absolutely flat out wrong about this game. Thought Jacksonville was going to lay down, allow the Patriots to come in, run them over, and leave town with a blowout victory. Jacksonville Jaguars had something else in mind. And again, I've said this about this Jacksonville Jaguars team time and time again. And that's the defense isn't the problem. The defense plays as good as they can for as long as they can before they just run out of gas, because this offense is so taxing. They really tax this defense. They put a lot of strain on the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, does this offense of the Jacksonville Jaguars, by not sustaining drives, by turning the football over, putting this defense in tough, precarious situations. And so I really thought that New England would force them into some mistakes. And again, no one's better in the league at taking your mistakes and turning them into touchdowns than the New England Patriots. And so I just knew that Chad Henne would turn it over 2 or 3 times. Brady would take that, get 2 or 3 touchdowns. They'd win this game 37-10, 37-13, and just continue on their way. But they struggled. They were absolutely dominated in the first half, were the New England Patriots. They were dominated by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the bad thing about it was the Jacksonville Jaguars had absolutely nothing to show for it by the end of the first half. It was tied at 13. They had outplayed the Patriots. They picked Brady off twice in the first half. They had moved the ball up and down the field. But when you're a bad team, you find ways to make sure that you don't get touchdowns. And that's one thing the Jacksonville Jaguars struggle to do, is get in the end zone. They get in the red zone, and it's like it's a switch that they have, and it's a malfunction switch. And they can't do anything right when they get in the red zone. They get 1st and 10 from about the 18-yard line or so after a beautiful screenplay is executed. And they gashed the Patriots for about 55, 60 yards on a screenplay. And they get another nice gain down to about the 2-yard line or so. Holden comes back. They have to settle for a field goal. Another instance where they get down there late in the ball game. They need a touchdown to really get back in this game. 1st and goal from the 5. False start. I mean, that's what bad teams do. That's why they can't win games. And they lose to the New England Patriots, do the Jacksonville Jaguars, 23-16. They really deserve to win this game, did the Jacksonville Jaguars. I thought that they, for stretches of this game, outplayed the New England Patriots. Again, this defense did all that they could to put themselves in a position to win the game. The offense just didn't do enough. And that's been the story of the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 2012 season. Defense has scratched, clawed, and fought to help this team win games. And the offenses did their best to make sure that they didn't win games. And the offense has won out more times than the defense has. And so the Jacksonville Jaguars are now 2-13 on the season. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots get out of Jacksonville with a win, go to 11-4 on the season, have a chance at that number 2 seed in the AFC still. They need to win, and they need some help. They need the Texans to lose in Indianapolis. They got a shot. If both the Texans and the Broncos lose and the Patriots win, they could go to number 1. Not going to happen. The Broncos aren't going to lose at home against Kansas City. But if you're the Patriots, all you can do is win. All you can do is beat the team in front of you, get to 12 wins, see what happens after that. Look at the next matchup on the slate. Indianapolis Colts traveled to Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, and this was a game that the Colts needed to win to clinch a playoff berth. And I said that they needed to win this game. Don't put this off until next week. Again, wise man once told me, why put off for tomorrow what you can do today? And today was an opportunity for the Colts to win in Kansas City, clinch your playoff berth, have it out of the way. You've made a living this season at beating bad teams. Why not clinch a playoff berth doing what you've done all season, which is getting fat off of bad football teams? That's what they did. They were dominating in this game, though. Make no mistake about it, the Colts should have lost this football game. You watch this game, and you walk away from it saying, which one of these teams is 10-5 again? Because you weren't sure watching this game. I mean, the Colts were thoroughly outplayed. They gave up over 300 yards on the ground in this game. Jamal Charles had over 200 yards rushing in this game. Peyton Hillis added another 100 and something in this game. So you had two rushers that eclipsed 100. One eclipsed 200. I mean, they were gashed on the ground. Brady Quinn was awful, and if he wasn't, maybe the Chiefs win this game. He throws a pick in the end zone. He throws a pick six. I don't know what he was looking at, where he was throwing the football. And so he was awful. And for anyone that thinks that the Chiefs aren't a talented team, look, the Chiefs are a bad team. There's no mistake in that. But there's a difference between being a bad team that's not talented and a bad team that has talent. And I won't sit here and listen to anyone tell me that the Chiefs don't have talent. They have a home run threat at the running back position. Now, yeah, he does fumble too much for me. He has to stop putting the ball on the ground. He fumbled in this game. But the threat of him hitting a home run like he did in this game is always there. And so, give me Jamal Charles any day of the week. Peyton Hillis showed a little bit of what he can be for this team in this game. They have a heck of a 1-2 punch if Peyton Hillis can get back to that 2010 form where he was a Pro Bowler for the Cleveland Browns. And you look out wide, Jonathan Baldwin had a big play in this game. He's a guy that can emerge for this team. Dwayne Bowe, who is on the shelf, don't know what the Chiefs are going to do with his contractual situation, but he's a guy that if they can get back in the fold, you got a number one bona fide threat out wide. You got Moyaki at tight end. This team is going to send 2 or 3 players from the defensive side of the ball to the Pro Bowl. They're that good defensively. Tamba Hali, Eric Berry, Brandon Flowers, Justin Houston, they have talent. So don't tell me that this team doesn't have talent. You stick a solid quarterback, and I'm going to say it once and I won't say it again. You put Kyle Orton on this team, this is a 10-win team. No doubt about it. No doubt in my mind, this is a 10-win football team. Instead, you give them the train wreck that is Brady Quinn and Matt Castle, you get 2 wins. Simple as that. And they lost this game because they didn't have good quarterback play. Simple as that. Defense played really good in this game. Colts didn't do much on offense. They didn't do much on offense. But defensively, the Colts did what they needed to do. And look, they gave up over 300 yards rushing. Hard to win many games in this league when you give up that many yards rushing. But when the opposing team likes to turn it over, I mean, just listen to the mistakes that these Chiefs made in this game. They had a holding penalty, call back a huge run for them that would have put them in scoring range on one of their early possessions in this game. They missed a chip shot field goal from about 33 yards on one possession. Brady Quinn throws a pick six. He throws another interception that was picked off in the end zone. So he takes points off of the scoreboard. I mean, the Chiefs were just killing themselves over and over and over again in this game. And they were stopped 4th and 1 at the Colts 27-yard line. I mean, you're in field goal range at that point, and you should be able to get a yard. I mean, the way you ran the football in this game, no reason for you not to turn around and hand it to Peyton Hillis or Jamal Charles instead of calling a quarterback sneak, having it stop, and turning the ball over on downs. Anyway, the Chiefs are a bad team. That's what bad teams do, and that's exactly why the Colts needed to go into Arrowhead and get a win, and that's exactly what they did, 20-13. Got their 10th win of the season. They're now 10-5. They're now in the postseason in the AFC. So they're your number 5 seed. They're locked in. And so you have all 6 of your participants in the AFC locked in for the postseason, just seeding left to be decided. You look at the Chiefs, they're 2-13, and they're 2-13 for a reason, because they have no quarterback. And again, you look at the bad teams in the league, teams that have less than 5 wins on the season, who have 6 or less wins on the season, and there's a common denominator for most of those teams: bad quarterback play. You know, some teams in that discussion, they're just bad teams. They're undisciplined. They turn it over. They don't score points, like the Detroit Lions. But for the most part, you look up and down the list of teams that have 6, have 5, have 4, 3, 2 wins on the season, don't have a quarterback. And that's what's wrong with this Kansas City Chiefs team. Look at the next matchup on the slate of games. Family business. Dolphins hosted the Buffalo Bills. No playoff implications here. Just 2 teams playing in the same division, wanting to beat one another. Dolphins won this game pretty handily, 24-10. It all got kick-started by the Bills blocking a field goal attempt by the Dolphins. Then the Dolphins stripping Stevie Johnson of the football. He catches a pass. He's stripped by Sean Smith. They pick it up. Rashad Jones, who's probably been the best defender for this Dolphins team all season long, scoops it up, runs it down the field a little bit. They take it down the field. Reggie Bush caps it off with a catch, and one of his patented dives from about the 5-yard line gets inside the pylon, touchdown. And they took off from there. The Dolphins are the better team, and I said this in the preview on Friday. They're the better team. They have a better quarterback situation. I actually like their coaching staff. I think they get it. They don't have a lot of talent. They're acquiring stuff on the fly, are the Dolphins. They're picking up other teams' scraps. And I think that they're getting some good table scraps. And so they're building something in Miami. Tannehill was solid in this game. Didn't really turn it over. Reggie Bush was solid in this game. They got a little something out of Lamar Miller. There's a lot of things to look forward to for this Dolphins team. I love their defense. And again, Rashad Jones, he's a great piece. Cameron Wake. There's pieces out there. I love Sean Smith. I think he's one of the most underrated corners in the National Football League. They don't make 6'3" corners that can run, that's physical, that will press you at the line and run with you if you beat him off the line like Sean Smith. I love this guy. A lot of people aren't talking about him, but he's playing ball out there in Miami. He's one of the reasons why they're able to be so good defensively, because he's locking up other teams' best receiver. And he did it again against Stevie Johnson in this game. And the Dolphins got it done 24-10. They go to 7-8 on the season. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills dropped to 5-10 on the season. And again, the Dolphins are the better team. And they proved it in this game by beating the Buffalo Bills. Simple as that. You look at the next game on the slate, the Denver Broncos hosted the Cleveland Browns. And I knew this one wasn't going to be close. The Browns have maxed out at 5 wins on the season. And that's a good season for them. I really think that they overachieved in this season. I thought that they were solid in the first half of this game against the Broncos. The only problem was they didn't have anything to show for it. They drove the length of the field a couple of times and had to settle for field goals. The Broncos drove the length of the field and they got touchdowns. That's the difference in the game. Really, it was what it boiled down to was the Broncos drove the length of the field, they got a touchdown. The Browns drove the length of the field, they got a field goal. And that's the difference between these two teams. One can put it in the end zone, the other can't. Whedon got hurt in this game, and so if you're a Browns fan, that's something you don't want to see, because you want him to finish up this season, kind of continue to get a lot of experience under his belt, help him become better for next season. He got hurt in this game. He probably won't play next week. Colt McCoy came in and wasn't really overly impressed with Colt McCoy in this game, but again, he's a backup. That's what you get out of backups. Peyton Manning, again, flawless. He did throw one interception in the end zone in this game. But other than that, I mean, Peyton Manning was Peyton Manning. I mean, the guy is absolutely phenomenal. Over 300 yards passing again, over 4,000 yards passing again in the season, 3 touchdowns in this game. I mean, what can you say that hasn't already been said about Peyton Manning? The guy is absolutely one of the best to ever do it, and he goes out and does it every single week. You know what you're getting out of Peyton Manning for the most part. Every single week he laces them up and steps on a football field, and he did it again to the tune of 34-12 against the Cleveland Browns. The Denver Broncos are the hottest team in the National Football League right now. They're on a 10-game winning streak. They'll probably finish up with an 11-game winning streak. If they win next week against Kansas City at home, which I don't see why they wouldn't, they'll finish up with an 11-game winning streak, and they'll finish up with an opportunity to get the number 1 seed and home field throughout in the AFC playoffs. With a win, they'll ensure themselves of no worse of a second place finish in the AFC, and so they're assured of a first-round bye, whether the Texans win or lose. So a win next week means that they're at least the number 2 seed, if not the number 1 seed in the AFC. Denver Broncos get it done. They move to 12-3 on the season. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns, again, had issues in this game of getting it in the end zone, and so they lose, and they go to 5-10 on the season. You look at the next matchup on the slate. The Arizona Cardinals were hosting the Chicago Bears. And this was a game that I thought the Bears could lose. I didn't think they would because the Arizona Cardinals are so bad. And again, here's another one of those teams that I talked about earlier. Don't have a quarterback. You can't win in this league. And so I said on the preview for this game that I thought that the Bears were going to get some turnovers, some gift-wrapped turnovers from this Cardinals team. Some early Christmas gifts, if you will. And they were going to be able to deposit them for points. I didn't know that Beanie Wells was going to actually fumble in the end zone and not have to make the Bears work to score the touchdown. I didn't know he was going to actually give them a touchdown on the play. I didn't know that Brian Lindley was actually going to throw a pick six 8 yards away from his own end zone. I didn't know that. But I did know that the Cardinals were going to give the Bears opportunities to score points defensively, which is what the Bears need because they don't score points offensively. And that's what the Cardinals did. And so they lost the game. It's really simple. You turn it over, it turns into points, you lose the game. And the Cardinals are a bad team. What can you say? The Cardinals won last week because the Lions turned it over and gave them points. And they returned the favor this week by turning it over and giving the Bears points. Bears win the game 28-13. And what did I say on the preview? I said, I guarantee you that the Bears offense will not score any more than 14 points. Am I Nostradamus or what? This Bears offense is struggling. And the Cardinals play solid defense, and I knew that they weren't going to allow them to score more than 14 points. Luckily enough for this Bears offense, this Bears team, that the Cardinals gave them 14 points on defense. And so, there you have it. You get 28, you win the game 28-13, you go to 9-6 on the season, and you keep your playoff hopes alive. Now you got to win on Sunday, and you need some help. But you still have a shot to make it to the postseason, and that's all you can ask for going into the final week of the season. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are 5-10. They can't wait for this season to be over. They need a quarterback in the absolute worst way. So you look at the next game on the slate, and this one was a sleeper, this one was a snoozer, this one was a loser. This was the Chargers traveling to New York to take on the Jets. Honestly, this game was 27 for the Chargers, 17 for the Jets. Really not much more to say than that. Both of these teams are going to look vastly different come next season. Don't know if either one of these GMs or head coaches will still be in place. I can assure you the Jets will have a different quarterback situation. The Chargers will look like a brand new team. This game had no importance to it. It wasn't a good game to watch. Antonio Gates had a milestone. He caught a touchdown, got his 100th touchdown catch of his career. Big accomplishment for him. Kudos to him for being such a prolific pass-catching tight end in the league in his career. But not much more to take from this game. Greg McElroy started. He stunk. There you have it. San Diego wins 27-17. They go to 6-9 on the season due to Chargers. Meanwhile, the Jets drop to 6-9 on the season. So you look at another game on the slate in Week 16, and it was a big one. The Giants traveled to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. And you knew that the Ravens at some point had to right the ship. This isn't a team that loses 3, 4, 5 games in a row. You knew at some point they kept playing games at home, they'd beat someone. And the Giants were struggling. And you knew that if the Giants didn't come in this game and really set the tone early that, hey, you can lose 4 straight if you like, then they were going to lose this game. And from the get-go, the Ravens came out and dominated offensively. This Giants defense really hasn't been good all season long. They've been a shell of themselves. They don't get pressure on the quarterback anymore. They have too many injuries in their secondary. They're just not a good team defensively. You can exploit this Giants defense. And that's what the Ravens did in this game. Really, that's what it boiled down to. The Ravens scored points, the Giants didn't. And for the 3rd or 4th week in a row, the Giants fell behind early in the game. And you can't continuously fall behind and think you're going to dig yourself up out of holes each and every single week. And so they fell behind again in this game to a solid Baltimore Ravens team. I think it was 17-0 before the Giants finally got on the scoreboard. It's too late at that point. When you're on the road and you fall behind by 3 scores, it's too late at that point. And so the Ravens just poured it on, continued to play consistent football throughout this game, and they got the win. The Giants didn't need to make the postseason. And I said before the season started that their schedule was just too tough. And I didn't think that they were a better team. They lost Mario Manningham and Brandon Jacobs in the offseason. I didn't think they were a better team than they were a season ago. And so I just couldn't see them playing this murderous row schedule and coming out on top. I just couldn't see them doing it. And it finally caught up with them. Just think about it. This Giants team played the Steelers, the Ravens, the Packers, the 49ers. They played all those teams this season. I mean, they played a heck of a schedule. They played the Bengals. And a lot of these teams were in succession. I mean, they weren't spread out where they played this team in week 1, this team in week 7, this team in week 13. They had a lot of these games kind of lined up, just stacked on top of each other. It was just tough. And then they play in the NFC East. You got to play Dallas. You got to play Washington. You got to play Philly. It was just too tough for this Giants team. And I knew they were going to struggle. I didn't expect them to struggle as mightily as they did down the stretch, but I expected them to struggle. And it caught up with them, and they won't make the postseason this season. And good riddance. They don't need to make it because they're not a good football team right now. And so they lose this game to the Baltimore Ravens, 33-14. Ravens get their 10th win of the season, clinch the AFC North. And so they're your division champs there. They're going to be basically locked in as the number 4 seed. They could get as high as 3. They won't because the Patriots won't lose next week at home against the Dolphins. And the Ravens, they could lose to Cincinnati in week 17. Even if they don't, even if they win the game, even if they lose the game, it really doesn't matter. They're your division champs. They're either your 3 seed or your 4 seed. They'll probably be your 4 seed. But probably, and if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you want to play the Indianapolis Colts. You don't want to be the 3 seed and have to play the Cincinnati Bengals team. You want to be the 4 seed and have to play the Colts because you can beat the Colts. If you're a divisional winner, that's the team you want to play. That's the team you circle on the calendar and say, hey, I want that team right there. I don't want to play Cincinnati. I want to play Indianapolis because they're not that good of a playoff team. I just don't think they're that good, especially when they have to go on the road. And so the Ravens are set. And meanwhile, the Giants, they dropped to 8-7 on the season, and they don't need to go to the postseason. As simple as that. They haven't played their best football down the stretch. They don't need to go to the postseason, and so they won't. So we find ourselves at Sunday Night Football, and we thought we were going to get a gem on Sunday night. Everyone, buckled themselves in. It was going to be a hard, long, bumpy ride between 2 teams that flat out don't like each other. Family business, hard-hitting affair. It's going to come down to the wire. We got anything but those things. Now, it was a hard-hitting game. It was physical. But this was total domination by the Seattle Seahawks. And there's no team better in the league at home than this Seattle Seahawks team. There just isn't. And at CenturyLink, it's just different there. It's always raining. It's always cold. It's always loud. It's just the worst environment for you to take your football team into and try to get a win. And they proved it again on Sunday Night Football against a really good San Francisco 49ers team. They just thoroughly dominated them. Man, they were physical with them. They knocked Vernon Davis out of the game. They blocked a field goal. And that really changed the game. That set the tone. I mean, that's a 10-point swing. They block a field goal. They were already trailing in the game, were the 49ers. They needed those points to kind of settle things down. Instead, it gets blocked. They run it in for a touchdown. At that point, you knew this thing was heading south quickly. And there was no stop button for the 49ers to hit. There was no emergency brake. This thing was going downhill. And all they could do was just fasten their seatbelts and enjoy the ride. Because it wasn't going to stop. And Pete Carroll, again, as always, treated it like a Pac-10 game. Ran the score up. I love Pete Carroll. I love Pete Carroll because he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He's going to score as many points as he can. And Russell Wilson was excellent in this game. And this Seattle Seahawks team is dangerous when they're at home. You get them on the road, you got a shot. You go to their place, can't see many teams in this league beating them in Seattle. Many have tried. No one has succeeded in the 2012 season. And so the 49ers were the 7th victim to come in to CenturyLink and the 7th victim to leave CenturyLink with a loss as they were routed in this game. 42-13. It was never close. This game was never close. You never thought that the 49ers had a shot to win this game. It just never was close. And the Seahawks are playing some really good football right now. The only problem for the Seahawks is they're not going to win a division. And by virtue of them not winning their division, they're not going to get a home playoff game. And by them not getting a home playoff game, they probably won't get as far in the postseason as they could if they had home field advantage. What a shame, because this team is really good. But for them to take the next step, they got to be able to pack up that energy and what they do at home and take it on the road. It's one thing to do it against Buffalo and score 50 points and blow the Bills out on the road. It's another thing to go to San Francisco and do that, to go to Green Bay and do that, to go to one of these division winners like Atlanta and do that. And I don't think that this Seahawks team can do that quite yet. But at home, they can beat any one of those teams at home. And really, they've done that this season. With the exception of Atlanta, they've beat Dallas, a team trying to make the postseason. They've beat Green Bay, a team that's in the postseason looking to get a first-round bye. They beat San Francisco, a team that is in their division that'll probably win that division at home. And so this team has been dominant at home. They beat Minnesota, a team that's looking to make the postseason as the 6th seed in the NFC. They've beat just about every team that's looking to make the postseason except for the Redskins and the Falcons. And they haven't played either one of those teams this season. But if they played them at home, I'd imagine that the outcome would have probably been the same as all those other teams. And so this team is highly dangerous when at home. On the road, they can be had. And so they got it done, though. Can't take anything away from them. They've won 4 straight. They're a dangerous team. They're playing some really good some awfully good football right now. I mean, they're averaging up over 40 points a game in their last 3 ball games. I mean, you're talking about 250 spots and another 40 burger on top. I mean, they're just playing some outstanding football right now. And going to be tough for the team that has to play them in the first round, but whoever it is, they'll be home, and this Seahawks team will be on the road, and that's going to be a tough test for whoever has this Seahawks team. And it's going to be a tough test for that Seahawks team as well. But they get the win. They go to 10-5 on the season, and they got an outside shot at winning this division. If the 49ers somehow slip up at home against Arizona and they beat St. Louis at home in Week 17, they're your division champs. And then everything changes. But that's not going to happen because the 49ers aren't going to lose to the Arizona Cardinals at home. It just isn't going to happen. And so they're going to be your 5 seed, and they're going to have to find a way to get it done on the road, or the Seattle Seahawks. So that's a touchdown. Go ahead and throw it up. We're going to tack on this quick extra point. So I said it on Friday when I gave the preview for all of these games. Win. It's simple. Win. Win, and you're in. Win, and you give yourself a chance. Lose, and you go home. And so the Giants lost. So you go home. The Ravens won. Win. They won. You're division champs. Cincinnati, I asked you to win. Pittsburgh, I asked you to win. Pittsburgh lost. You go home. Cincinnati, they won. You're in. Simple. Win. This is the time of season where winning gets you in. Winning gives you a chance to play again. Indianapolis, go on the road. Beat a bad Kansas City Chiefs team. Win. They won. Now they're in the postseason. Win. Dallas had a chance to improve their mark. Give themselves a chance to not only win the division, but if they don't win on Sunday against the Redskins, to give themselves a chance to win the wild card. They lost. Now their only hope is to win the division. They have to win. Backs are against the wall. The Redskins, by Sunday night, will know if they're already in or not. If Minnesota and Chicago lose on Sunday, the Redskins are in as a wild card, even if they don't win the division. But who's thinking about the wild card? You won the division and the Redskins won. I said win. They won. So now they're one game away from winning this division. It's really simple. Win. That's the name of the game right now. Win. Minnesota didn't think you could go on the road and beat Houston. I said win. You want to go to the postseason? Win. What did you do? You won. Now you're one game away from going to the postseason. Simple. Win. Chicago, you could have been dead in the water a couple weeks ago because you're struggling and you're still struggling. But it's okay to struggle while you're winning. Win. Give yourself a shot in week 17 to go to the postseason. Win. What did you do last week? You won. Simple. Winning. That's the only answer right now. You lose at this time of the season, your time's up. There's no time for losing right now. And so, it's really simple. I told you, the time for talk is over now. The play on the field will determine who's going to move on and give themselves a chance to hoist that Lombardi trophy come February. Time for talking is over now. You've had 15, 16 weeks to do all the talking you like. Now it's time to play football. Now it's time to let your play on the field and those wins and losses sort themselves out and figure out if you've done enough to get into the postseason, to get your ticket to the dance, to get in and see if you can do some damage. So now it all boils down to one more week of football. This is it. This is week 17 now. We've made it. It's been a long journey. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of peaks and some valleys. And now it all comes down to this for a lot of teams. Redskins, Cowboys, Sunday Night Football, division on the line. This is it. Win, and you're in. Win, and you win the division. Lose, and you could potentially go home in this game. I mean, that's it. Minnesota, you got Green Bay in front of you. Green Bay wants to get a first-round bye. They got to win to achieve that. You need to win to get into the postseason. You're at home. You got to win. You lose this game, you don't make it to the playoffs. You have to win. You can't lose and still get in. You got to win. Green Bay wants that first round bye desperately. You have to deny them that bye by winning. Or you don't get to go to the postseason. See, they're already in. They already got their ticket. They're being greedy now. They want to be off in the first week. They want a luxury that you would just kill to just get in for. That's all you want to do is get in. So you got to win. Chicago, you have a lifeless Detroit Lions team in front of you that would love nothing more than to pull you into the house. They're grounded. They're not going anywhere. They're not leaving the house. The Lions are in the house for the rest of the winter. Meanwhile, you're trying to leave. They would love nothing more than to slam that door shut with you still in the house. So this is your chance. Win. Go to Detroit. Walk out of there with a W. Give yourself a chance to go to the postseason. That's all you can do is win. That's all it boils down to now is winning. And we're going to see which teams get it done and give themselves a chance. That's all you can do is win. And so that's going to do it for this program. I thank you for joining me on this episode. It's Christmas Eve, so you won't see me tomorrow. This isn't like Thanksgiving where I just can find a way to slide in some time. Christmas is unlike any other, and so you won't see this face on Tuesday. You'll see me back on Wednesday, though. And so enjoy your family. Enjoy the festivities. Look, I say it all the time, and I mean it. I'm a family, friends guy, and so you know where I stand. This is my favorite time of the year. I've already had Thanksgiving. Now it's Christmas time. New Year's is right around the corner. Enjoy it. You don't know how many more you have. You don't know how many the people around you have left. So enjoy it while it's here. Enjoy the present, because you don't know what the future holds. Have fun. Enjoy those around you. Enjoy the company of those around you. Embrace the moment. Have a good one. Want to see you back here on Wednesday. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas. From me to you. From the lab room to you. Have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy your family members. Have fun. See you back here on Wednesday. Same time, same place. Merry Christmas.